Hello there and welcome once again to The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Meyers. We're here every week meeting interesting people and dealing with topical issues. And we welcome a guy in today who may not touch the life of every Oklahoman, but almost.
Sure touches my life, I know that.
Me too.
Joey Kelly, the Deputy Director of the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority, will be our guest today, talking about the Turnpike Authority and all of the things that it does and the way it solves problems. And I think it'd be very interesting. Yeah,
civil engineering and technology and how all of that mixes together, and at the end of the day, it affects almost every Oklahoman who drives an automobile. So Joey Kelly, today's guest in The Verdict. We'll be right back.
Right now, 6 feet can feel like a long ways away. But from 6 feet, we can still smile at each other. From our doorways and our stairways, from opposite sides of the street and opposite sides of the country. Through fear and frustrations, we can remind each other that we are still here for each other. Because we can still smile at each other. And we're not going anywhere.
Military service ran in my blood, starting from my father, which joined the Navy, on the Chickasaw side, my uncle, which served in the United States Army. I'm Benjamin Espinosa, Chief Petty Officer, United States Navy, and I'm Chickasaw. I went to the Secretary of Defense's staff at the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., which ultimately led to becoming a combat support technician for Naval Special Warfare, specifically SEAL Team 10. I think to be proud and to love your tribe, to love being Chickasaw, you also have to love being American. You also have to love everything that America stands for. Equality, perseverance, professionalism, and power. I want my family to know that their father is a good person, but also feels that he has an obligation to the country and to love this nation. Anything worth having is worth dying for. The military and the country owes me nothing. I owe it everything.
See more stories about the Chickasaw people at profilesofanation.com.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Meyers. Kent's going to introduce today's guest.
Well, as we talked about in the open, our guest today, we're really pleased to have Joey Kelly, the Deputy Director of the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority. A little bit about Joe. I think you'll find it interesting. He did his undergraduate work at Oklahoma State University in civil engineering. He got an MBA from Oklahoma State University as well, and shortly thereafter became employed by the Oklahoma Department of Transportation. He was there at Department of Transportation from a trainee to a manager. He went up through the ranks rapidly. He was there about 15 years or so. Then he joined the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority in 2016, and he currently holds the title of Deputy Director of the Turnpike Authority. This is his first visit to The Verdict. I hope not his last. Joe, glad to have you.
Yeah. Thank you for having me today.
Sure.
I read you grew up in McAllister. What was that like?
Well, I'm originally from McAllister, went to school at Oklahoma State. My wife is actually from Woodward. I work here in Oklahoma City. I've covered the whole state in one way or another.
Well, public education in McAllister?
Yes.
Did you feel like you were well prepared for Oklahoma State when you got there? What was your primary education like in McAllister?
McAllister I had a great math teacher as I went through school, and as I became a senior, really started to excel at math, and that's kind of what led me to the to head toward engineering. I headed toward civil engineering because I could actually see what I was doing. I thought maybe I'd build a river or build a dam and build a lake. I didn't know what direction that would go. Got an opportunity to go to work for the Department of Transportation while in school, which really exposed me to lots of construction, which I found interesting, and that's really where I ended up back to, was working in the construction side here in north central Oklahoma for 16 years before going to the Turnpike Authority, where for the last 7 years we worked on the Driving Forward program, that bond program, and now we've announced the new Access program.
I heard Kent say you picked up an MBA while at OSU. What was that decision like, civil engineering and picking up a business degree?
Well, engineering doesn't set you up for anything like this. And there's a lot of well-roundedness that you get from getting a business degree in conjunction with an engineering degree. So I was already working full-time at the Department of Transportation and was taking night classes to get my MBA. It took me a little bit longer to do it that way, but was able to get an MBA from OSU.
Mm-hmm. Talk a little bit about the difference in responsibility between ODOT, Department of Transportation, and Oklahoma Turnpike Authority.
Oh, it's night and day difference between some of the things that you have to deal with when you're working at the department compared to the Turnpike Authority. There are no driveways onto the Turnpike, unlike at ODOT where you've got mailboxes and driveways and turnarounds. And I say it like that because it's really the number of people that you have to deal with, because everybody's concerned with their commute, starting with the driveway when they leave their house. And ODOT plays a role in that connection to those driveways. At OTA, we're really focused on connecting to county roads, city streets, and other state and interstate highways, and that's where our focus remains. So it's the straight through connections that OTA has. You don't have a mailbox when it snows. You don't have to plow around a mailbox, and that makes our ability to do some fast maintenance a little bit easier.
Well, the development of the Turnpike, I guess, started when, in the 1970s?
So the Turnpike Authority was actually created by statute in 1947. That was just to build the Turner Turnpike to connect Oklahoma City to Tulsa. You know, by referendum vote of the people in 1954, we had this big new turnpike, and everybody in the state wanted one. They voted to cross-pledge our network. So we treat the whole network like one tolling authority. So when you put $1 in and you use the Turnpike on the Will Rogers in northeastern Oklahoma, or the H.E. Bailey in southwestern, or anything in between, all of that money goes to one set of commitment, and that's about a third of that goes to bonds. About a third of that is invested in our heavy maintenance and maintenance activities that we do on our network, and the other third is for operations, tolling and the collection of the revenue that way.
Which turnpike is used the most in Oklahoma?
Our highest traffic volumes are going to be on the John Kilpatrick, right around Quail Springs Mall. And then our second highest turnpike is going to be the Creek Turnpike in and around Jinx. The bridge crossing there over the river in Jinx is number 2.
But Creek's pretty new, isn't it?
Yeah, the Creek was originally conceived in the 80s. In statute, the Turnpike Authority was asked to take a look at it. In 1989, the Turnpike Authority sold bonds to build the first segment, and then it's been built in segments, building the loop around Tulsa up through the 2000s when it was finally connected to the southern end of the Will Rogers Turnpike there at US 412. So really trying to get loops around the city has been focused for the last going on 40 years for the Turnpike Authority.
The Turner Turnpike gets a lot of traffic as well, connecting the 2 large metro areas. And I noticed, well, it's hard to ignore, but from Bristow toward Tulsa, there's 6 lanes. And the rest of it, it's 4 lane, but there are plans to make it 6 lane. How's that coming along, and what's the timetable that you can talk about?
So in late 2021, as traffic rebounded from COVID, as we started to see revenues go back up, and traffic really forecast congestion into the future, particularly on the Turner Turnpike. We know after we finish part of that 4 lane, everybody wants the whole thing to be 4 lane. If you've driven it, you've been stuck behind a couple semi-trucks trying to jockey for position, and sometimes that can go on for miles. So we, as part of Access Oklahoma, as part of this long-range plan, we've committed to widening the whole thing. So it'll be 6 lanes, 3 lanes each direction. The first project is starting next week. Dirt will begin to turn here in February. We are starting just right outside of Bristow and connecting to that 6 lane section. The Access program is a 15-year long-range plan. We announced it going on 2 years ago, so we've got 13 years left. I think people will see construction on that east end, and it'll take us about 1.5 years to get that segment widened. Soon we'll be starting on the west end near Oklahoma City, and we'll probably start somewhere in the middle, around Stroud and even Wellston.
Wow.
Because we have to start it in several locations and start building toward the middle in order to be able to get this done in a 13-year time.
It almost sounds like the Transcontinental Railroad from 150 years ago.
Right, yeah.
And what sort of feedback do you get from the general public on the way that the Turnpike Authority finances its bonds and works its way through the system? Because it's not simple. And it's not instinctive for a lot of people, but it's always been my impression that the more people learn about it, the more they accept it and understand it.
Right. Our financial model, we have a group of folks that work in our accounting and finance department that are the best experts in the business, and so they have to be, because it is complicated. Basically, in my terms, because I'm not a finance major, but in my terms. We take out a loan, bonds, and then we pay those bonds back with the revenue that loan or those bonds create. Building new alignments adds more traffic. As time goes on, traffic increases. We see a tremendous increase in traffic on the John Kilpatrick and Creek turnpikes, but also the more rural turnpikes. Everything is growing. COVID changed the makeup of our traffic. Passenger vehicles, as people began to work from home, lowered the number of commuter cars, but at the same time, trucks that were delivering goods, that traffic went up tremendously. People are back working in offices now. There's a lot less telework, and that even Google is back to reporting to an office. And so because of that, the commuter traffic's going back up. They're mixing with all this heavy truck traffic. And so the need to widen the Turner Turnpike, the need to add additional lanes to that facility is tremendous, as well as, we've talked a lot, and even Secretary Gatz has been here to talk about the need on the south side of Oklahoma City. If anybody has driven south down toward Dallas on I-35, that is the boom town for traffic. Not only in the Norman area, but even south all the way to the Red River. There's just a tremendous amount of traffic. We have to provide some kind of alternative for that traffic, and that's what our goal is to provide this alternative with the loop system around the city. But ODOT has an even bigger challenge all the way to the Red River. That's 90 miles, I think, in there that ODOT's going to have to focus in the coming years to 6-lane that facility.
Joe Echelle is the Deputy Director of the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority. One more segment with Joe when we get back.
At Whitten Burridge, we're litigators. That's all we do. All of our clients, some sort of wrong has occurred to them. We try to right that wrong. Corporate America, they have all the power. It's sort of like going against an army. I like helping the underdog. That's what gets me up out of bed every day.
Our success rate is phenomenal, but that's not all they get. We care about people.
I'm very proud of what we've been able to do for our clients, and I'm looking forward to what we're going to do in the future. There's still a lot of wrongs that need to be righted.
OU Law has a history and heritage that are unparalleled. At the University of Oklahoma College of Law, we empower our students to pursue the career of their dreams. We have the highest U.S. News ranking ever achieved by an Oklahoma law school. We are the first law school in the country to launch a college-wide digital initiative. And this year, our competition teams rank #2 in the nation. OU Law, generations of excellence, limitless possibilities.
The Vet Hero office at the University of Central Oklahoma, it is a one-stop shop for veterans when they're trying to get their education.
I call it my encore job. I get to take care of veterans. We help them transition. I was that guy that transitioned after 24 years, and in the end, GI Bill is a benefit that those soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marine earned. It was the thing that made us the greatest country in the world coming out of World War II, and it will continue to do the same thing for this future generation of service members.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Meyers and our guest Joey Kelly, the Deputy Director of the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority.
Joe, talk to us about the traffic volume on the turnpikes and some of the interesting stats that you have.
Yeah, so as I said earlier, there on the Kilpatrick, there's 80,000 cars a day on average right there around Quail Springs Mall. We do somewhere around 800,000 transactions a day. That's going to be an average. 800,000 transactions across the network. You know, that adds up to about 300+ million transactions annually. On a big day, on a Friday when there's a lot of travelers that are headed out on vacation and things, we'll do 1.2 to 1.5 million transactions. That's users per day.
What was the public acceptance, if you can, you were too young to remember, on the Turner Turnpike once it was completed and started use? What kind of traffic volume did it get?
The first year that it was open, I think that the traffic volume was 2,000 vehicles. The same number of transactions average per day. We did about 700,000 transactions the first year that it was open. Now we do more than that every day.
Wow. Gosh. Well,
but since then, there's just been so much change, and people love change, don't they? I mean, but, if you just change something, I mean, it's never accepted broadly. And I can only imagine the call volume that you all receive about this has changed or that has changed. But as technology picks up, and you guys are right on the forefront of that. I mean, the technology the change parallel line goes up. So how do people deal with change, and how do if they have a complaint or when they have a complaint, how do they contact your office, and what's that volume like?
Sure. So our biggest and most recent change has been our conversion to cashless on the network. We've stopped in a lot of locations collecting cash, and we've gone to a system called Plate Pay, where if you don't have a Pike Pass or an interoperable other state transponder that we read, then we take a picture of the license plate, read that, and then bill you off of the registered owner information. Some people don't like to pay their bills, believe it or not. So we receive somewhere on the call volume about 91,000 calls a month is the average for last year to our call center. That varies. Some people are just calling to add some money to their Pike Pass account, and some people are calling because they've found out that they've driven on a turnpike and they wanted to pay cash, and now they have to pay a bill from home. Our conversion to that has been purely safety related. In the 6 years prior to starting this plate pay conversion, we had 500 accidents in toll zones. A lot of those are fender benders. If somebody's confused or in the wrong lane, they make a last-minute lane change. But those accidents also affect our Pike Pass customers too, because a vehicle that doesn't know what lane to get in sometimes swerves through a Pike Pass lane and affects those customers as well. And in addition to, after they've stopped on a high-speed roadway, they got to merge back into traffic. Lots of conflict points, and that's an issue that we're trying to resolve by going to this plate pay system.
Well, discuss the evolution of the payment system back from Turner days to current day.
Yeah, so when our first turnpike opened, the Turner, and then subsequently the Will Rogers and H.E. Bailey, every tolling location had to have a toll attendant, a person 24 hours a day sitting in the booth. The coin machines didn't even exist at that time. Those didn't come along until much later. Once the coin machines came along, then you had to carry exact change. You'd be surprised what we find in those coin machines. Everything from people's jewelry that gets thrown in there, from their hand accidentally, to things that they didn't mean to throw in there that were in their coin tray there in their car. In the early 1990s, we were the first tolling entity in the country to switch to high-speed open road tolling using the Pike Pass. And that conversion, I think we anticipated 250,000 Pike Passes to be issued in the first year. In the first 2.5 months, all of those had been sent out. Huge uptake, a lot faster than we anticipated. We had to put an emergency order in to get more Pike Passes.
Pretty well received.
Very well received. And it was much cheaper than paying cash, much faster. You could do it from home. you can call 1-800-PIKE-PASS and talk to a customer service agent, or you can go to pikepass.com and have access to that account and do most of your things online, making those money transfers. And so you're paying for transportation infrastructure in our state from the safety of your home and not from the side of a highway that's high speed. Everywhere that we've made these cashless conversions, we haven't had any accidents, nothing related to the tolling. So that's a huge safety improvement, which, again, my first degrees in civil engineering, we're dedicated to making things safer, and that's really the goal of this cashless conversion.
And I guess the highway patrol system is your police officer.
Right. So the Turnpike Authority, when you see a highway patrol working the Turnpike Authority, those are our employees. We do that through contract with DPS. We pay for their cars and their salaries and all of their necessary materials to their bulletproof vests. Those are all the things that the Turnpike Authority covers. We budget for 121 troopers across the state that work on the Turnpike Authority roads, but they also work on state highways and county roads when there's an issue. They come off the Turnpike and go work those. So it's a benefit to the state and something that we provide.
I've also noticed when I'm driving in North Texas or in Kansas that your Pike Pass works seamlessly. How did that take place? Because we don't see a whole lot of examples in government where you can state agencies' services work so well across state lines.
Well, this is common. This should be common sense for all tolling entities to be interoperable. Oklahoma, Kansas, and Texas were really the initiators of that, what we call a hub system, where we have a collaborative hub where we transfer transactions and are able to still track those through accounts. Most recently, this last summer, we brought on Florida. So now your Pike Pass is interoperable with most of Florida. We're still working on one of the tolling agencies there, but most of Florida. Next, we're working on Colorado. We're with a goal of being interoperable nationwide so that you can travel any road. We're not there yet. Not all other tolling entities are as vested in that as we are here in Oklahoma. In Oklahoma, about 42% of our tolls are from out-of-state travelers. We got an infrastructure here,
wow.
Yes, sir, that are a lot of truck traffic, cross-country traffic that comes through Oklahoma. The coastal states aren't as vested in that. They don't see as much Oklahoma traffic on the coast as we see their traffic just trying to get across Oklahoma or visiting here or visiting one of the neighboring states. So it's something that's really important to me and to us at the Turnpike Authority to continue to work toward being international or nationally interoperable.
We got about 30 seconds left. What do you want our viewers to know about the work you guys are putting together?
So visit accessoklahoma.com to see these big initiatives that we're working on. We've got a lot of work, a lot of updates that we'll be posting there, and stay tuned. Lots of good things coming to transportation in our state.
All right, Joey Kelly, the Deputy Director of the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thanks, Joe.
Kent and I'll have a final word when we return.
This is the epidemic of my generation. This is my HIV. This is my Black Plague.
In the midst of one of our state's largest crises,
Oklahomans are dying from this preventable and treatable disease on a daily basis.
We believe there's hope.
That little pill will cause destruction through your whole life.
Watch the entire award-winning 9-part docuseries Killing Pain, made available by Fighting Addiction Through Education at killingpain.com.
It used to be okay in hospitals. It used to be okay in movie theaters. It was okay in classrooms, restaurants, and airplanes. But thanks to a greater understanding of the dangers, that's not okay anymore. So now that we know secondhand smoke causes lifelong health problems, why is it still okay to smoke with children in the car? Bottom line, it's not okay. Let's get serious about protecting kids. Join the fight at stopswithme.com.
All children deserve a life of hope and love. But sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
You have children coming from a different lifestyle, different mindset. You have to open your arms and really do what you have to do to have that child become a part of your family. And if it's more patience, that's what you do. Kids got to know they can trust you. And that's what we've tried to do with these kids.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
We're back on The Verdict. We had a wonderful show with Joey Kelly, the Deputy Director of the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority.
He really knows what he's talking about, and they are doing wonderful things at the Turnpike Authority.
It's great to see a state agency so far ahead on technology compared to other
We're a
parts of the
big
country.
user, to the extent we go anywhere, we're a big user of Kilpatrick Turnpike, and we really appreciate it.
Absolutely. We have some website information to hand out. You can get more information from Joe's department at oklahoma.gov/OTA. That's oklahoma.gov/OTA. And he mentioned the acronym Access Oklahoma, another place. If you'll just Google that, I'm sure you can get more information from the agency there. And we have a website, theverdict.tv. You can log on and tell us about a show you'd like to hear about or a guest you'd like to see right here sitting in these seats, and we'll do our best to get that guest on. That's going to do it for now. For Kent Meyers, I'm Mick Cornett. We're glad you joined us today, and we hope you'll be back with us next week when we have another show right here on The Verdict.